Another opening that came about on Sunday was the Illinois Illini moving on from Lovie Smith. It was kind of a unique hire when Lovie was hired, just because he'd been a lifelong NFL coach, coaching the Bears, coaching the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, been on the Buccaneers staff prior to that, the Rams, all the bells and whistles and all that. So it was a bit of an interesting hire, but I liked it just because Lovie Smith knows football. He's had success in the NFL, and I just thought his ability, I think he'd be able to relate with players, he'd do well with parents. I thought he was going to get Illinois to a competitive level, and it kind of looked like he was getting there, but it was just a little too late, and they had to really rely on transfers to kind of come in. So with Lovie kind of being older, just not having that success, I understand why they moved on from him. I've always been a Lovie Smith fan, so it's hard to see him leave. But it'll be very interesting to see where Illinois goes with, because they have some options, but this is a job that you have to get right. They've got potential. Chicago area's got talent. You're in the Midwest. You're close to Ohio. You're close to, Iowa's got talent. Wisconsin. I mean, you've got that area in the Midwest that you can get talent to, and Illinois has had some success. Ron Zook got them to a Rose Bowl. And you're also in the Big Ten West. You're not going in the East having to play Penn State, Michigan, when they get better, Ohio State, heck now Indiana. So you're facing off the likes against Wisconsin, who's a tremendous program, Iowa, who's as solid of a program as you can get. Who knows what Nebraska will eventually be, if not, whatever. It's a far more winnable division than the East. So this is an important hire, and it'll be very curious to see where they go. I think they've got a few options, and I think the top two that you're going to see are Lance Lippold, the Buffalo head coach, and Sean Lewis, the Kent State head coach. Now, Lippold's a guy who not a lot of people, I think, are still familiar with, but he may be the best coach you don't know about. And here's a guy who coached at the Division III level with Wisconsin Whitewater. He was a 6-time national championship head coach there. He got hired at Buffalo from Wisconsin Whitewater, and all he's done is turn Buffalo into one of the top programs in the MAC. And we all know that the Big Ten loves to hire MAC head coaches. So is Lippold going to be the next guy? And like I said, he's having a lot of success there. Jarrett Patterson this year is just a tremendous running back, helping lead or contend for the rushing record this year, even though Max, he rushed for over 400 yards a few weeks ago. So I think Lippold's a guy that's going to be moving up. I think Illinois is a potential possibility. Like I said, Lippold's a guy that's played at Wisconsin Whitewater, coached there, so he's used to the upper Midwest. Had a stint at Nebraska as a GA, as an assistant. So he like I said, he's familiar with the Midwest, and he's just a flat out good coach. He's won wherever he's gone. Now, Sean Lewis is the other name, another up and coming coach. There's a few programs that his name got mentioned, and they said, oh, he's a guy that's not just going to leave for any job. He's a former Wisconsin player, and he's built. Kent State's not Toledo. It's not this MAC program that's got a lot of success. It's I've heard a few people say it's the worst coaching job in Division I football. And he's gone and had success there. He coached at Syracuse before he went there, an offensive-minded head coach, an up-and-coming guy. If Illinois can get him, they've got maybe a guy that's on the up, and a lot of people have a lot of respect for, and that's not usually who Illinois tends to get. Now, a couple other options. Jeff Monken, from the Army head coach, is another guy that I think is being tied to this job a lot. You see what he's done at Army. He had success before he came to Army. We think of the Army-Navy game, and Army's won like the last two or three in a row. But before that, it was Navy just running roughshod over them. And Monken's come in, and he's been able to turn that program around. I mean, they've only got 2 losses this year, and it's to Cincinnati and Tulane, two other good programs. So in this tumultuous time of being a head coach, especially at Army where you're independent, he's been able to still have success. Now, is Illinois going to want to run the triple option? And I'm sure Monken's a guy that's not going to come in and say, this is exactly what I'm going to do. We're going to run the triple option just like we do at Army. I think he's a smart enough head coach that he'd be able to adapt the system, but you're still going to be a run-based scheme with that option. And, we saw Paul Johnson have success at Georgia Tech at times. Would you be able to have that success at Illinois, who, it's not like they're going out and competing for the division championship in the Big Ten West. So maybe having a different style offense, would that do him some benefit? He also has ties to the state. There's lots of ties that he has to Illinois. Does that help his case? Keep an eye, once again, staying in, I talked about Kent State and Buffalo in the MAC. Another MAC coach to keep an eye on is Jim McElwain at Central Michigan. Here's a guy, another former Saban assistant. Had a lot of success. He was one of Saban's first assistants at Alabama. Did a tremendous job helping win the national championship. He goes to Colorado State. Has success at Colorado State. Parlays that into the Florida job and was decent at Florida. He won SEC East Division championships, but he was never able to get over the Alabama, Auburn, LSU, whatever, whoever was winning the West. It was hard to get over that hump. And so after just not being elite enough, they move on from him. And he goes to Central Michigan, and now he's turned the Chippewas into one of the better MAC programs. So was Florida too big of a job for him? Would he do better at a school like Illinois? And I think Illinois would be wise to hire a guy like Jim McElwain. He may not be their first choice. He might not be their second choice. But if they end up with him, sometimes it's the third or fourth or fifth guy that's down your list that you end up getting, and they end up being the best choice. Pete Carroll was USC's sixth choice the year when they hired him, and look what he did. So sometimes getting rejected a few times and landing on a guy ends up being what you need. Now, a couple maybe... I can't talk about this job without mentioning Brett Bielema. Brett Bielema, former Wisconsin head coach, former Arkansas head coach, had a ton of success at Wisconsin, but then some people say, well, was that Barry Alvarez's program, and he just kind of kept it moving. And he goes to Arkansas, and it looked like he was kind of getting them going, and then they fell flat on their face. Bielema went to the NFL, worked for Bill Belichick with the Patriots, and now he's with the Giants as their outside linebackers coach, working with Joe Judge, working with Patrick Graham, two coaches who I think Patrick Graham's going to be an NFL coach soon. And Joe Judge is doing an impressive job. So can Bielema soak in the Belichick information? Can he soak in what he's learned from Joe Judge and Patrick Graham? He wants to coach again. He wants to be a head coach in college. He was out there as candidates for a few other jobs that he didn't end up getting. He wants to coach. And once again, I don't think he's going to be first, second, third, or fourth choice. But if Illinois is striking out on guys that they want, will they go with Brett Bielema, whose I think system is suited well for the Big Ten, especially in that West? And he's going to be able to pound it out with Iowa. He's going to be able to pound it out with Wisconsin. He's going to be able to pound it out with Northwestern. And he's going to keep them in games, and he's going to recruit big guys and want to pound the ball. I think it's an option to kind of keep an eye on. All right, the last name I'm going to bring up, this is kind of a wild card, but I think it's got a possibility, and that is Wake Forest head coach Dave Clausen. Now, Dave Clausen, I thought, has done a pretty good job at Wake Forest. He's brought in good talent. He's had some solid seasons, but has he hit his cap at Wake Forest? They're in the same division as Clemson and Florida State, and I know Florida State hasn't been good lately, but it's still Florida State University, and so he's never going to take over the ACC from Clemson in the division, and I think Louisville's in that division as well. He's never going to climb that hill. As good of a coach as he is, Wake Forest is not going to get to that level. They've got a ceiling there, and he may have already hit it. So does he think, okay, do I just continue to be this solid, quality ACC program, or do I look to move on and maybe try it. I've been here for long enough. Sometimes you're there for a long enough time that you end up getting fired just because you've been there so long and you haven't broken through. So does he try to get ahead of that and find a job? Clausen, before he came to Wake Forest, was at Bowling Green. So once again, another MAC coach, Midwest area, had a lot of success there with him. Would a job like Illinois, where you have a better chance of winning your division at Illinois than I think you do at Wake Forest. As good as Wisconsin is, as solid of a program as Northwestern and Iowa is, the division's winnable. We've seen Iowa compete for the division championship. We've seen Northwestern competing this year. You can't tell me a good coach coming in Illinois can't get them up to maybe potentially that same level. And I think Clausen's a guy that is a very underrated head coach. Now, like I said before, I think Lance Lippold should be, if they offer, if he's offered the job and he wants it, if he wants this job, I think they should hire him. Same thing with Sean Lewis. I just have a feeling, I don't know if Lance Leipold's a guy that is ready to go to Illinois. I think he might say, I can get a better job than that. So when it's all said and done, Lance Leipold's number one on my list, but I think the guy that Illinois ends up hiring is Jim McElwain, and I think it's going to be a good hire, in my opinion.